Aloha and welcome to Betty's Real Estate Corner, brought to you by Sakamoto Properties, where prestige is our business, reputation our foundation. Today here in the studio is Dean Otto. Hello there, Dean. Aloha.
Aloha. Thanks, Betty. Thanks for having me today.
Well, we're in our regular thing on a Tuesday morning trying to figure out what is it we're going to say today. We've got to have something spectacular, and we're hoping that we come up with that as we go along. Again, we're always unscripted, which is kind of the way that we would like it to be. So we're thinking of a variety of different things that we want to talk about. We want to talk a little bit about the current market, what's going on. We want to check in a little in regard to Dean just happened to have been named president of the board of directors of Maui Preparatory Academy, and he's going to fill us in a little bit about Maui Prep. We got a little Lahaina Luna information, et cetera, et cetera. So, Dean, you had a few market things. I had a couple, but let's see what you've got.
Thanks, Betty. I always love being on the show. I'm a little disappointed today, though, because Betty normally says such great things about me on the show, which is about the only time she ever does. Last time she said I was the best real estate broker in Hawaii. So
wait a minute, that is true. Excuse me, 1 minute. Okay. Who is on the top 100 list again? Dean Otto. Now, Betty Sakamoto is also, but Dean, of course, is above the list because he's an O and I'm an S. But Dean Otto, again, way up there on the list, not to mention he is controlling the very top of the market, as he always does. And statistically, he comes up with, I'd say, more sales in a number of different ways. Dollar value, definitely, and probably overall number of sales. So yes, he is the tops, not to mention top rugby player in South Africa, top parent, top at Maui Prep.
Okay, stop.
Okay.
But thank you. Yeah, just a little bit back to the market update part. I think it is an interesting question. I think everyone is trying to figure out the market, and it's a tough question, to be honest with you. Frankly, we're in a very uncertain time in the market, but there has been some good progress. And I work very hard at a project that is in the west side called the Villas at Royal Lahaina, which is an approved project that has yet to be built. And the developers are constantly hounding me for statistical information. What they're trying to do is to predict the market. And there's a few things that we look at in anticipation of changes upcoming. The first thing, obviously, is number of listings, the listing inventory. And that would be probably one of the biggest changes that we've seen in the market over the last year or two. The number of listings on Maui peaked in April of 2009. Every month for the prior 2 years, the inventory increased, and as of April 2009, it has decreased every month. That was an important turning point in the market. We're seeing the results of less inventory right now in our market as we sort of progress into 2011, almost a couple years beyond that peak. And we are faced with a bit of an inventory crunch, in my opinion. We're struggling to find great buyers for buyers. Most of our buyers are coming in with a foreclosure short sale mentality, and we're having a real hard time finding sellers to match that buyer mentality right now. In fact, I've got 4 transactions that Betty and I were just talking about where we have not been able to bring the buyer and seller together. So I think things are changing. The market does tend to go in spurts. So we had a very good run in the beginning of this year, and it does seem to be cooling down a little bit. But a part of the cooling off is the fact that we have reduced inventory, and I think that is having an impact.
One thing that you said a minute ago, as the inventory reduces, we had a particular buyer that had been making offers on pretty much all of our Pineapple Hill listings, and we do seem to have the lion's share of the listings. But this person kept making offers and was just always a little below what was happening. So she kind of backed out, and then all of a sudden it started to, every time she'd look back, or they would look back, it would turn out that whatever it was that they had been looking at had already sold. So finally realizing that if they wanted to get into that market, they were going to have to really make a pretty quick move and buy something, because it was starting to accelerate. So you went from where there were these great deals around $2 million to a couple of closings that are now $3 million, and then like one or two that are the older homes that are going for less. But very interesting, and these people did finally jump back in and get something. But again, it's totally changed. So the number of units on the market is different than it was. The price range is totally different. And yet there's still fabulous values there because the houses that are available now are the newer homes. I'm talking ones that are better views and totally put together and or more recent construction. But that's a big change, don't you think, Dean?
Yeah, that's a good point too. In the Kaanapali market, we have a few listings in the Gulf Estates, which has been a very stagnant market for the last couple of years. All of a sudden is seeing some pretty good activity. And what we realized is that the three transactions that have just occurred were three buyers that were actually in the market last year looking as well, and a couple of them from the prior year as well. So these are people that have been looking for 2 years in a lot of cases, have been patient, have been waiting for the right opportunity, and have decided to jump into the market now. So I think that's a pretty good indication of how we are progressing. The other thing that we look really closely at in assessing the market would be the pace of sales. And so obviously as the inventory declines is because sales, the number of transactions are picking up. And we saw a really good turnaround in 2010 with a substantial increase in transactions for part of the year going as high as about 50% over the 2009 transactions. And that was another good indication that things were progressing. The prices weren't really showing signs of progress, but at least to increase the activity, to reduce the inventory is really a key to changing the market. By the time the prices start changing or it's noticeable, it's almost too late. So we really try to look to number of transactions and amount of inventory as the sort of predictors of market changing.
I think too, Kaanapali, which, I was talking a minute ago about the Pineapple Hill Kapalua market, but I've seen the same thing going on in Kaanapali, where we had somebody that specifically flew into town with a plan that's been watching the market for not that long, but really wanted to buy, had a specific price range, and was kind of making offers, but just, again, a little step behind. So when they actually flew in ready to be